You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Wagner. And on today's show, we call the whaaambulance as we review The Kid. But first, Eddie, how are you and the family doing? I know it's getting close to 4th of July, but you are not in the States with the rest of us celebrating. But are you prepared?
And yes, and contrary to popular demand, the air is free down here in Costa Rica.
I'm not ready for that. That's awesome.
No, it is an interesting one. We still want our kids to grow up and know and love all of those things.
All the American holidays.
All the American holidays. I mean, we are here for a 5-year commitment. So, now
I'm curious, which American holidays are you not celebrating? Are you just not? You're just not going to bring them with you? Like President's Day? Is that gonna stay?
No, like we kept the big ones.
Arbor Day. Is that gonna make your list?
Memorial Day. St. Patrick's Day, we do it up big. St. Patrick's Day, that's kind of a Ferguson family tradition.
Well, yeah, plus it's the day before your birthday. So
it's the day before my birthday.
Your hangover, happy birthday. So. Sure.
And I don't know. Well, Thanksgiving, of course, is a big American holiday that we'll do up nice and big. But yeah, so we were trying to figure out, like, what do you do to celebrate 4th of July when you don't live around any other Americans?
Yeah.
Because so much of 4th of July is really communal activities. It's barbecuing with friends. We would do a big neighborhood, like everybody sit in the cul-de-sac and this guy would blow off his fireworks.
That's where the magic happens on 4th of July. We go to other people's cul-de-sacs just to experience it.
We loved living on a cul-de-sac. It was great. You go to the park, you go to the parade, all of those things. So we've already planned. We've gathered some candy, and we're gonna put on. So it'll be Sarah and I, and then a friend that's here helping us for a couple of weeks. We're gonna put on a parade for the kids, and toss candy out to them and do it up really big like that. And then we're just coming up with some other fun activities. We're definitely gonna watch because this is my tradition. And, I get a little choked up every time we watch the scene from John Adams when they pass the Declaration of Independence and they're like reading the Declaration of Independence, all these different people all around the country. Do you know the scene I'm talking about?
I know. I kind of remember some of the scene. You and I watched that together in your parents' living room as you explained to me what was going on. Very similar time frame as when we watched The West Wing for the first time.
Yes.
But I am interested. What is all of the what is all the movies or shows or whatever you're going to watch? And I'm interested, you said specifically just that scene.
Well, with our kids, right?
Yep.
We have 3 kids, 3 and under. So it's not like we're going to go watch The Patriot with them.
No?
Well,
no, seriously?
Sarah's never seen that. So I think we're going to watch that after the kids go to bed. But so just that particular scene.
John Adams.
Patriots, John Adams on the list. And I don't know, like we'll watch a lot of, I love like some American marching band, like some John Philip Sousa music. You know what I'm talking about? Come on. You love it. So,
I'm saying, yes, I understand. No, not yes. That's on my list. That's definitely not on my list.
I have an Apple Music playlist if you would like me to share that with you.
And of course you have Apple Music, not Spotify, because you got to stay all in the family. If Apple offers it, you got to use that instead. So
I'm sorry. Why use Spotify when I can pay Apple one flat fee and I get all my music, all my storage, I get Apple TV Plus, I get Arcade, I get all of that stuff. Plus, it works seamlessly with my HomePods. I love me my HomePods.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that you were one of the 3 people that actually bought a HomePod?
HomePod minis. They're like one of the most popular thing Apple makes. What do you mean? What do you mean one of 3?
You are the only person in my life that
It was so popular that they released it in multiple colors.
Listen, you are the only person in my life that I know verified.
Who cares about their privacy? Is that what we're such good friends I can finish your sentences.
That's where it was going. But you were the only person in my life that I know has a HomePod. That's
Really?
the level. I know nobody has a HomePod.
They are amazing. The sound quality out of those suckers will beat any Alexa device you want to put up against it. Plus, it's not constantly spying on you and selling your information to Jeff Bezos so he can fly his you-know-what up into space.
He's just, they're instead selling it to Tim Cook, which, as we know from Jurassic World Dominion, is going to take over the world with his
that's
locusts.
accurate. Because that's accurate. Tim Cook and his evil apple locust.
His evil body.
What do you think? What do you think they're growing there in that apple park? It's not some orchard. It's they're
locusts.
growing locusts.
They're growing the loci or whatever it is.
You would be forever changed if you would stop selling your soul to Amazon and switch on over to HomePods.
Home devices, HomePods.
HomePods.
Yeah. But where were we talking about this? We weren't talking about any of this. We were just talking about your traditions for 4th of July.
So my HomePods will be playing nonstop patriotic music. Kind of, we go through our cycles. We kind of do the big fanfare. Then we switch over to kind of your pop music. Some Bruce Springsteen, some good old Americana tunes there.
I'm going to guess you have somewhere in your house right now 4 American flags hanging up somewhere.
3.
I was so close because you don't want to go too egregious with it. And then it just feels like it gets kind of weird if you have too many of them.
You were close though, because I mean, we have 3 small ones like that. And we forgot to bring like a large American flag,
a bigger one.
And that was my intention, was like, oh, we would have a big one and then the kids could each have a flag. So you were close. You like, in my mind, we should have 4.
There should have been 4, but you only had 3. You would have had 4 if you would have had your own designs. That's
right. But
so our go-tos every year is the one we can watch with the kids is National Treasure. So that's
a great
okay.
one.
It's okay. It's that one's that's a safe one for them to be a part of it, and they don't totally understand why Dad loves Nicolas Cage so much in this film. Even though I think now they've kind of like, can we watch something else instead? But we always watch that. We try to also get in some Independence Day somewhere in there as well. But we got that on DVD. Although I did find that it's on streaming on Prime this year. So if you're looking for Independence Day, Prime is your go-to for that if you want to watch it.
Again, if you want to sell your soul to Jeff Bezos. Continue on.
Exactly. So those are our go-tos, our go-to movies right there. Those 2. But I'm looking for other options if something were to. You know what I miss? I kind of really loved Live Free or Die Hard. Maybe I'll bring that one back. That one was a good resurrecting the Live Free Die Hard franchise for a hot second there in the 2006s or 2007, somewhere in there. That was a good one with Justin Long. Justin Long, a part of that, right at the top of his Apple Mac versus PC era. Doing a great job.
It was short. It was a short-lived little boop boop.
It was short, but he got some good run out of that. Anything else that you were wanting to talk about for 4th of July or your family?
I need to sit down and think through this. But my intention is to watch at least an episode of The West Wing. And there is the 4th of July episode that is fantastic, where he is constantly telling the story of Jefferson and Adams dying on the same day and everything. So it might be that episode that I pull out. But yeah, I mean, you can't have a 4th of July without some President Bartlett in your life.
Well, I hope when everybody listens to this that you still have all 10 fingers and you're filled up with joy and patriotic spirit is just like reverberating, rippling through, even through Wednesday when they all hear this episode.
Yes, we'll have to revisit, make sure everybody's okay.
Give a status update somewhere. And I apologize if you are hearing little rumbles in the background of my audio. It's because it is not 4th of July yet, and yet people are still lighting off fireworks tonight already.
Hey,
and
I miss that. I always loved, I mean, our neighborhood, there was a guy who started, and he pretty much did the whole month of July back in Brownsburg. It was just like non-stop.
Non-freaking stop. You know what else is non-stop, Eddie? Is the amount of new shows there are to talk about on Disney Plus.
They're keeping up. I think it finally dawned on them like, hey, just because we have a really great library doesn't mean people are gonna keep signing up. Like, we got to pump out new content.
Kept out the new content. And one of those big ones that came overlapping with, kind of side by side with Obi-Wan Kenobi, was Miss Marvel came out. And you had told me, like many people, actually, this was a recurring theme. And even for myself was a recurring theme, that only watched the first episode. And then even though there's 4 out now, you stopped after episode 1. Tell me about your experience, Eddie, and why you stopped at episode 1.
I mean, I didn't feel like it was bad. It wasn't like, oh, this is awful. It was just like, okay, I've no interest to continue on with this. I think the way I described it to you was, Marvel, each iteration of Marvel, they do a genre or a style, right? Mm-hmm. So, you have your World War II flick in the first Captain America, or your espionage deep state with Winter Soldier. This, I felt like they were checking the box of Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, teen bopper show.
Teen bopper show is if you want to look up the genres, that's the one you look up.
Did I just date myself with teen bop? All the teen girls reading teen bop. JTT. I love that we just said that in unison.
Perfect unison.
So yeah, that was just kind of my thing where it was like, okay, cool, but I have limited time. I'm not going to invest in this. I would much rather watch Stranger Things.
And there was a lot of Stranger Things. Too bad we don't have a dedicated, maybe we should do a whole episode dedicated to that. Which I've not finished it yet.
Neither have I. I have the final episode to go. Because the final episode is 2.5 hours. It's not an episode. It's a movie.
I was initially hurt by the fact that there was only 2 episodes in this last iteration, but also like there's like 3 or 4 episodes worth of content. Anyways, we can't go into that. We got to stay focused, Eddie. This is a Disney show. So I had a very similar reaction to you. First episode, I was kind of out. I was done. I was like, not interested. The lead actress I just wasn't a fan of. And then I found out that she is a fan who had never been in movies before. And they cast her as the lead in a major Marvel series. And I was very upset about that. And I was like, that's too on the nose. You're trying to typecast somebody too much for a girl who had just graduated. I think she just graduated high school and then went straight into this series. It was crazy. But then my assistant, Eleni, at work, sat me down and she was like, JB, you need to watch this series. You need to give it another chance. It had gone to 2 episodes and she was like very serious and like, listen, it gets better after the first episode. The second episode, especially at the end, there's a turn where it starts having a more driven like feel to it. Not just like, hey, we're having kind of fun. Like, no, there's a turn to it. I gave it that chance, Eddie. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. So this is me. I'm not sitting down. We're both already sitting down and we're not in the same room as each other. But I'm just saying, I want you to give it a chance. I want you to give it a little bit more of your heart. It takes a turn. It goes a little bit more. It does go deeper into the genre even more.
The teeny bopper genre.
Into the high school romance, coming of age, all of that stuff. It's still there. It's still very prevalent, but I think it does get better. Okay. I haven't rewatched it really. I take that back. I rewatched one of the episodes because I also had my wife as well start watching. I couldn't tell if she was into it or not because I think she might have been falling asleep while we were rewatching it. But I watched the first 3 episodes. I'm not like dying. I have to watch the next episode because I haven't watched episode 4 yet, and it's been a few days. but I just want you to give it a chance, Eddie. I want you to give it a chance, partially because we need content to do for an episode to do a review of this for the show, but also because there's a Bollywood style wedding
Holy
ceremony.
cow, I love a good Bollywood scene.
So that's something to look forward to.
You may have gotten me just on that.
That's in episode 3. So get the next one. There's a turn. There's some more interests involved. Like,
all right.
There's someone running for office for a local office.
Say no more.
The community is involved. I just want you to do this.
You and I have always had this understanding, though. Like, when one sees something that the other, or one likes something that the other doesn't like, and it was like, no, give it another chance. We go do it. It's just kind of for goodness sakes, you went back into Jurassic World Dominion because of one text from me.
And I'm not even asking you
to
go spend money. I'm just saying.
The least I can do.
The least you can do is watch the content you already paid for.
I paid for it 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, are you feeling sad that you now have to actually pay?
This fall I will have to start paying for it.
There's been several people in my office have been like, "Oh yeah, I haven't had to pay for that. Now I have to start paying for it." Ooh, it's gonna be rough and it's gonna be higher than you had to pay for it before. So
for sure, I'm hoping that some other deal comes out at D23 this summer, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, when is D23? We should
September. And they're already gearing up. A lot of news. We'll do a special episode just because D23, if you don't know, is the official Disney fan club. And usually at that big convention, it's kind of like the Disney Con, you could call it. And they will announce movies, theme park things, like pretty much anything from across the Disney company. They announce, all sorts of new big stuff coming up. So there'll definitely be movie announcements or stuff coming out of that. So I feel like a big review episode might be in order, but it's not till September.
A review episode. I think even a future down the way, once we've got sponsors for this podcast and we've got merch and stuff like that.
Live from D23 in Anaheim, California.
I think that's in our future.
With me walking around the convention hall with my cool snowball microphone.
Actually, your voice does sound better right there. Can you hold that there the rest of the time?
Sure.
and not just like roam with it.
It might be better that I hold it because I do move around so much.
We are going to get a lot of hand.
Oh, that's true.
And stuff, but we should get you a headset. I think a headset might even be a
headset
like Dave Ramsey, just like a headset with like a microphone built into it. I think this
don't. I love watching the Dave clips on YouTube. I'll have to start picking my nose with my thumb live on air.
Oh gosh. This has veered off far from what this conversation is about.
I'm sorry.
But next, we are here in the middle of summer, 4th of July. Eddie, does it feel like this is like we've finally gotten back to what summer is supposed to be all about?
Yes, just big movie after big movie. Like, it's not a summer of movies unless you feel like, oh man, I don't have enough time or money to like get to the theater as often as I want.
Or
like
money.
You should have that pressure to kind of feel like, oh man, I kind of.
This is when they should be hitting the AMC stub should be hitting me up every week saying, you could save money by instead of purchasing all your movies separately by signing up for AMC A-List. But you know what? I always remember.
Do they still have it?
Oh
Do
yeah.
They still have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got several friends who all have it and they use it all the time. It's because once it gets to September and October, November, February, that's the worst. February is the bottom of the barrel of stuff that's out there. That's what I always try to remind myself about that's why I don't need to pay for a monthly subscription. But anyway, so summer movies. This feels like we're back.
You've seen 2 since we've last spoken. I have gone to none.
But some of the big ones that have come out, we got Doctor Strange, we got Top Gun, Jurassic World Dominion. Even though we bashed on it a lot last week, I specifically bashed on it a lot a week, there was still a largeness, all of these dinosaurs. The dinosaurs were the best part of it. And we still got more to come. It just feels like it's another big summer because we haven't had one of these in a couple years.
And it's the first time in a long. You had Spider-Man: No Way Home, but that was going to be big no matter when it came out,
and that was December. But you have Top Gun: Maverick that is now at $1.1 billion worldwide. This is surprisingly, Tom Cruise's first $1 billion movie. Wow. I would not have guessed that.
I would have guessed some other, but going back and look at it, several people have, reported on it. This is his first $1 billion movie, and well deserved. I mean, this movie is why you go to the theaters. And honestly, I think everything that has come out that has kind of drawn my attention, I've still played this game in my head of like, but would I rather go see Top Gun again?
For the second time? Has that kept you away from some films?
No, not really. I mean, just time and money is what usually keeps me away. But it is I went and saw Jurassic World. I had fun with that, but none of the other ones have pulled me enough. I've wanted to go see Elvis. That looks really intriguing, but it doesn't come out here until mid-July. It's a little delayed in its Latin American release.
Baz Luhrmann, so very stylized based on his the way that he makes stuff.
Tom Hanks. Did I mention Tom Hanks?
Giant fat suit.
Tom Hanks is in it.
But we also got some off. It wasn't even just what we saw in theaters. Having Stranger Things in the middle of the summer just kind of added to it, even though we weren't, and we probably, a lot of people binged it in a couple of nights. Like that added to the spectacle of the summer, I feel like. You guys did the same thing. We went back and we rewatched everything. So we were kind of late getting to season 4. And we've been that was fun because now we see so many of the different connections and everything. Yeah.
And it's a good season, but we're not a Stranger Things podcast. You went and saw Lightyear and Minions. There's a lot of discussion going on online about this because Lightyear has not performed well at all. It's been out for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yep.
And it has grossed just $105 million domestically. These are just domestic numbers. And Minions has only been out for 3 days and has already grossed $108 million. So in just 3 days, which worldwide it's $202 million. So what's going on here? A lot of people are making the comparison. They thought Lightyear didn't do good because families may not be comfortable going back to the theaters. Oh, Minions is proving that wrong. So what are your thoughts having seen them? I've not seen either.
Well, it's not an apples for apples comparison, I feel like, because even though saying this is Toy Story, it's still it kind of merges the two things. Like they say that new Pixar properties like Luca and like Coco are a little bit harder if people don't have a familiarity with the subject matter to bring them back into theaters. That's why the sequels do so well. And really, even though Lightyear is connected to it, it's still a newer property and a newer story. So I think we might have even talked about this. There's whole videos online of Chris Evans really struggling to describe what this movie is.
Yeah, he can't even articulate it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because then the opening of the entire film is the simplest, most basic description of it that is necessary for the film, which is like in 1995, a boy bought a toy for his favorite movie. This is that movie. It's just like, that's all we really needed. But there's so much context needed to connect it to Lightyear or to Toy Story, that it's not a true sequel or prequel in the sense of that. It's not like as tightly connected to the original story. Toy Story universe, is that a thing? Are we saying? I know Pixar universe. Pixar universe theory. If anyone wants to go Google that. So it really was a new story, and the focus was so heavy on how is this connected to Toy Story, and it wasn't people just wanting to watch this story because it looked like an interesting story. I felt like, I think that's where it lost a little bit of it. Minions, it's so basic. Like, I didn't even have to really convince my son. It was like, we're going to go watch the Minions from Gru just do random stuff. Literally, that's it. I don't care what they do. I don't even care what the storyline is. We're just going to go watch Minions being Minions. And there's more Gru in this. There's a lot more younger Gru in the newer Minions movie. And I think that's some of the level of it. You were able to turn your brain off. Like, some things you want to turn your brain on and think and whatever. A lot of times movies, I just want to turn it off. And I want, what's the basic idea? Why do people go to Jurassic World? It's dinosaurs.
I just want to see dinosaurs
attacking each other. And we forgot, what was I think someone said the adage is every Jurassic World movies is the dinosaurs get out. And we all realize that we shouldn't have made them in the first place. That's what it is. Minions saying gobbledygook and being funny. And there's a little bit of Gru in there. Great. Awesome. I'm in. This movie, Lightyear. It's a space astronaut, but it looks like he's stuck on a planet somewhere. But it's heavily connected to Lightyear, but it's not really Lightyear. There's just too many layers of understanding, and that's before you even go see the film. I think that was really what was hurting it to get into the movie.
Even just from a marketing standpoint, Minions has been everywhere. Lightyear was not pushed super heavy.
Oh, okay.
Minions, you had Steve Carell on everything. And
Okay.
Steve Carell is just going to sell anything. And also, right before the movie came out, Julie Andrews won the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. And so she's been on doing a whole bunch of press, and she's in Minions. She's the voice of his mother. And so you had Julie Andrews and Steve Carell like on everything going around talking up this movie. And then with Lightyear, you had Chris Evans show up on a few things, and the whole time Chris Evans can't even articulate the movie that he's the star character of. Yeah. You're just like, you're not selling me on this one, buddy. So I think, people wanted to go to the theaters, but they're going, is that what I want to go out for? Is that because to take a kid to the theater is no easy task.
It's a commitment. It's a commitment. I have to buy popcorn just to keep him occupied. I also this time went and got like a small thing of M&Ms for us to share as well, just like as a secondary, like once this one's done. And this time I was very specific in making sure I waited till several previews had happened before we busted out the popcorn, just making sure we could actually get through it. And but to the credit of the movie, in the other films we had watched and that I'd taken him to, somewhere around 3/4 of the way, he starts drifting. He starts looking around. He starts looking back at the people behind us and other things like that. And I got to kind of rein him in. He was just into this the entire time because it's just Minions being silly and doing fart jokes. And when he left, he kept on talking about how he saw one of the Minions' butt. Because my son is 5 years old. That's all. That's what he's into right now. Is that. And the Lightyear just isn't. It's not a kid's movie. Actually, it's very much. There's not a lot of funny. It's not a lot of. Not that I'm saying it wasn't funny or lighthearted. It's just a way different sell than Minions. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like there was so for me, like not trying to give too much away, there was actually moments in Lightyear where I got a little teared up from the relationship of him losing his a key figure in his life in there, and it's a key crucial role in his direction, but it's got more adult themes of responsibility and I was responsible for this crew getting off this planet, and now it's up to me to solve it. And just there's a lot of great themes in the film, but if you're talking about which one would I turn on for my kid, it's an easy decision to say Minions instead. I think that's why parents just flocked to it, because it was just, this is easier. We can just put this in front of them, and they're coming out 2 weeks apart. Also meant that it was like, we kind of got to make a choice.
You got to pick which one are you going to do,
Minions or Lightyear, and for us, we chose Minions.
Yeah. No, I am sad because I love Pixar.
Oh yeah, so excited to finally see a Pixar movie in theaters again. So that's the downside to this.
This is going to hamper that. This is going to hamper that.
Eddie, if we go back to only straight to Disney Plus, I'm going to be so sad right now. I'm just forewarning you, you're going to get sad Jay on this podcast.
Without going too deep into it, I think that no one part of Disney/Pixar is completely to blame for this. I think there are multiple things that they just didn't know their audience in putting out this movie on multiple levels. And again, it is a sign of a lot of things. I think Disney is in they've kind of lost their way a little bit right now in understanding their audience and their clientele. But I also things have a way of balancing themselves back out, and I think several years from now we'll look at this differently. But I think Lightyear is just another example of that. So many parts of the company just don't understand who their audience is.
Yeah, going from 51 million down to 17 million down to 6 million in subsequent weekends. That's not what franchise properties do, and that's not what Pixar does. That's not what Pixar does. And I mean, that's what's sad is I think this is officially the first flop of Pixar. It's under The Good Dinosaur currently right now.
It's made less than The Good Dinosaur. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
They're kind of this sad. I hope they're looking at this and go, no, please no. Like, make some changes, do the right thing, because I really hope that my biggest thing is it's the biggest thing I was complaining about. I just want us to have Pixar movies to go see in theaters, and I hope they don't do a solo where they're like, oh, people didn't like this, so let's reel it back in and not do this. They're still going to make movies, but I hope they don't take it all back to Disney Plus, because that sucks. It was great seeing it's just great. I love seeing it. That's why we love summer movies. It's because they were big in theaters, can go experience it in all the glory that it is. And speaking of glory, we have another Marvel movie coming out this coming Friday. This is probably the last big summer movie. I know that there's still Jordan Peele's Nope, which comes out either I think it's in August or early or end of July, that I am excited about. But that's not really a tentpole film. That's more of a thriller Jordan Peele film. But Thor: Love and Thunder, Eddie, what are we preparing for next weekend?
We're gonna go see it. We've already set up where Sarah's gonna go have a girls' night with a lady in the church. They're gonna go see it. And then a few days later, me and the husband, we're gonna go.
Oh, so you're gonna? This is very meticulous, Eddie. Plan.
we had originally thought, we'll do a double date, but then we're like, we can't do that to somebody because they have kids, we have kids. So I was like, well, let's just do it this way, and this will be a lot more fun. So I may go see it in Spanish. He asked if we could go see it in Spanish. So
you're gonna be okay with that?
It's weird. It's weird for me. I can understand it, and it's not. I don't miss anything. It's just weird seeing a Spanish voice come out of.
It's not the two Chris's in their actual language.
Right. Who's the second Chris?
Well, it's got Chris Hemsworth and Chris. Why can't I remember his name? Am I saying the wrong Chris?
Yes, you are. You're thinking Christian Bale.
Well, no. There's Christian Bale. There's Chris Hemsworth, and then there's what's his name from Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah, Chris Pratt is in this one. See,
I wasn't that wrong, but it is. It's
okay,
3 Chris's: Chris, and Christian.
Sure. You can stretch it that far. No, I'm excited about this one. I like Tika. Am I saying is Taika? Sorry, Taika. I mean, his wacky, irreverent humor is hilarious to me. So
he was in. I was just thinking of him because he
was in Lightyear.
He is in Lightyear. He voices one of the characters. He has a very specific. It's weird because it's crazy to think that the guy who made Thor also made Jojo Rabbit, but that's a true statement. And he also did some of the Mandalorian, so he has some range. But this feels exactly like the third Thor movie. It's just a continuation of that feel, maybe even to a whole nother degree. But is this going to be the last Thor movie? Do you think this is going to be the last Thor movie? Are they going to send him up? He's having a crisis of conscience of what he's doing with his life. He's doing yoga and growing his hair out again. Are we going to see more of Thor, or is this it?
I think he's around for a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll get at least one or two more big Thor things, whether that's Chris Hemsworth all on his own or he's in some of these things, but he's the last of the big characters. So I think they got to kind of bring him along a little bit. And Chris Hemsworth's just having fun doing this character.
I think I saw an article where he said before the third Thor movie, Ragnarok, he had kind of lost interest in the character. And Ragnarok,
the Dark World was awful.
Yeah. But even being involved in some of the Avengers films, but Ragnarok is really what reinvigorated his love for that character. I just wonder, after Ragnarok and the two Avengers films, and now this, have we kind of reached our limit on Thor? And is he going to go off into the great beyond? Oh.
I don't know. I think it's interesting. There's discussion on him. So the third Deadpool, which I've not seen any of the Deadpool movies. There's discussion, though, that Deadpool 3, which is coming out soon or is going to go into production soon, it is going to be in the MCU. And
because they bought it. Now anything that they do will be.
Right. So Chris Hemsworth apparently is jockeying to be in Deadpool 3 to be
that sounds about right. Do you think the real question
I think that'd be good.
The real question is, are they going to bring Deadpool to Disney Plus? I doubt it. That's probably going to stay on Hulu.
In some countries it is. In some countries it is.
Anytime I watch a Marvel series and then I go watch the 75 Easter eggs you missed, every third one of them is for one of their different IP spoofers. That one of the big selling points is now you can watch Disney Plus, all the content, all the adult, all the more adult content that you just can't get on the sanitized American Disney, because Disney Plus, all the things. So awesome. I'm glad you have a master plan, Eddie, to still make sure you see it. I will probably also see it this weekend. So maybe we'll have to do a Thor recap next week on what we thought about it and our reactions. I think that's a good way. Stay tuned. I'm pretty sure you can hear that next week. But that is the end. That's all the Disney news we have for you this week. But Disney media news that we have for you this week. So now we're here to continue our march from 1987, 88 to 2005, going all of the Disney movies that we grew up on. So today we got Bruce Willis today. He's going to be bringing us in with The Kid.
Cue the Disney sound effect.
Okay, so here is the IMDb description for The Kid. An unhappy and disliked image consultant gets a second shot at life when he is mysteriously confronted by an 8-year-old version of himself. That's fine. That's the premise. That's what it is. No one likes him, and he meets himself.
This was a Ferguson family favorite.
Oh, really?
We loved this movie growing up, watched it quite often, and quoted it quite often because there's some good quotable lines in this movie.
Very quotable. A lot of one-liners in this film. I don't know if all of them are great, but they're good. They're like witty.
Our go-to favorite was always the "I grow up to be a dogless, chickless loser."
Mm-hmm. So I'm 40, don't have a girl, don't have a... I'm a loser. I love it. And I love how it kind of plays in at the end where he's like, we're not a loser.
I also love when he sits down at the TV and he's like, holy smokes, 99 channels and there's nothing on. That is such a great remembrance of cable at this time where it was just like so many channels, it was just, but there was really there was nothing on. And you see why we are no longer a cable-driven world because it's like, yeah, I'm not going to pay for all that. I'm just going to pay for what I want.
So this is John Turteltaub. He's back in. If you remember him, he did some other Disney films that we've talked
National
about.
Treasure that we've already talked about.
No, we haven't because that's coming out in 2004. Well, I mean, we talked about it
when we were talking about 4th of July.
Talked about on this podcast. Well, is that going to be in our list? Is that on our list of Disney films? Awesome. I'm just so excited for that when we do that. Like next year or whatever. Cool Runnings.
Yeah, cool. 2004. It's one of the last ones. Cool Runnings. While You Were Sleeping. I know that's one of your favorites. Little Sandra B.
Sandra B. So this definitely had a very similar vibe to Cool Runnings in the sense of just like little bit of stupid humor. It had all of the classic, whatever that, I don't know if they just have like a soundtrack that they just repurpose.
Thank you for bringing this up.
All these types of kid bike lane.
I liked it though.
A little bit of clarinet, a little bit of jazz saxophone or whatever. It's like a little bit. You know who started this?
It was nostalgic.
You know who started this? It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. It's that same vibe.
I'm okay with this. This is it. The second, so as soon as this movie started, the two thoughts I had was, one, whatever happened to the good, long, drawn out title card sequence? Love it. Love it.
Something was just kind of happening, and there was like
it's a little bit of a story. It's okay. We're setting the tone and everything, but I like the title sequence at the top of movies. I know that's not a thing anymore. We want to jump straight in and get to the action. But I always liked the kind of ease in, I always liked a little bit of, I don't know. I like the old school title card sequence. So this had that remind me. And then the second thing I thought of was, yes, the music. This is just like a warm hug. Even though this movie came out in 2000, it was like a nice hug from the 1990s.
Oh,
like,
this movie.
Here's your childhood. Let me give you a hug.
This movie, don't kid yourself. It actually probably was a 90s film that they just like made and then held on for some weird reason till it was in the 2000s. Because this is all 90s, all over like not as much like physical nostalgia. Like we don't see like product placement as much and stuff like that. But the tone, the feel, the energy, all of everything that comes out of Bruce Willis's mouth is just pure 90s.
Do you know how Bruce Willis got to be in this movie?
No, but I'm dying to know from your research.
So as I came across this, I've got like my little giddy moment because I'm like, ooh, JB's going to love this. This is fantastic. So I'm
here for this.
So in 1997, there was a romantic comedy in production called Broadway Brawler. Okay. It was going to star Bruce Willis and was produced by Bruce Willis. And it was under one of the subsidiaries that Disney had created in the 90s. But Walt Disney was going to be the main distributor of that movie. The movie pretty much got stuck in pre-production hell for 2 years because Bruce Willis was such a pain to deal with. This is what I'm reading online.
Okay.
So within that 2 years, over half of the film's budget of $28 million had already been spent. and nobody wanted to carry on with it. So the production folded even before they had shot any scenes. Wow. Okay. So the implosion of the production was largely attributed to Willis and his actions and behavior. So it left him in a really difficult position. So his agency negotiated a deal to pretty much head off a lawsuit. So a lawsuit was coming Willis's way for, I don't know what it would be, breach of contract or whatever, causing all of this. So to offset the loss, they created a deal and a 3-picture deal with Disney. Okay, Willis will do 3 films for you or your subsidiaries. And those 3 films he will do at a reduced rate. So you got to remember, in the 90s, Willis was huge.
Yeah.
He brought in, his starting asking price was $20 million a movie. Ooh. With this deal, for 3 movies, they got Willis for $3 million.
Wow.
So he only earned $9 million
just to get back into the good graces of people.
Just to get in the good graces and to head off a lawsuit that was going to be a lot of money. Do you want to venture to guess what those 3 movies Willis did to make peace?
Go for it.
This one, of course, Disney's The Kid.
Okay.
Armageddon.
Wow.
The Sixth Sense.
Wow. I hope he's got some good good back end deals, like points on the back end, because those two specifically are major films.
Right. Honestly, like when you talk about Willis's career, I mean, of course, Die Hard is like pops first.
Yep.
But I mean, Armageddon, Sixth Sense is arguably his best performance as an actor. Maybe Unbreakable gets, as an actor.
He does Unbreakable after that.
He does Unbreakable after that. But yes,
Armageddon
that is
probably one of his most famous, and it is one of the best, one of the top films of all time. So,
oh yeah. So that was put out by one of the this is the only one that got the full Disney release. All the others were those weird kind of subsidiaries.
So you're saying we're not going to be doing Armageddon coming up soon?
As you like to say, it's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
But it's not on the list. It's not on, like, we have our official list. If you go to honeymoonmade.com/movies, you can. But
that official list is just based off of anything that got the banner. Official Walt Disney Company production or Walt Disney production. So that's how that was. But I thought that was fascinating that's how we got these movies.
That's a great nugget, Eddie. That's a thing that my wife will love. She loves when she can learn something on a podcast. I'm just here for the banter. But whenever she can learn something on the podcast, she loves that. So if you can find something she doesn't know, so this is going to be, she's going to text me literally right now as she's listening to this.
This is what I do my work for. I try and serve our audience in this way. But so we never got Broadway Brawler, but we got the Sixth Sense, Armageddon, and this Disney's The Kid. Just to humor everybody, do you want to know what the premise of Broadway Brawler was going to be?
Yes, please. Give me the IMDb description for Broadway Brawler.
I'll pick up the microphone for this one. Eddie Kaminsky, played by Bruce Willis, has been retired professional hockey player, starts a relationship with a character played by Mari Terene. And the film was obstinately to have been a sporty comedy in the same vein as Jerry Maguire.
Sporty comedy that's in the same vein as Jerry Maguire. He kind of is a Jerry Maguire-esque character in this, in the sense of he's an image consultant instead of a sports, but it's in the sports world. So I'm okay. Still doesn't sound that interesting. Like I'm seeing this.
I'm glad we got Disney's The Kid instead. No, but this movie's fantastic. Did you see? I mean, this has got a great supporting cast. So Bruce Willis.
A lot of appearances or kind of cameos from people. We get Melissa McCarthy here for a hot second.
One of her first roles, yeah.
And she's probably right in the middle of Gilmore Girls as this whole thing is happening. You get Chandler from Friends, just wearing a giant beard. It's like, I'm not gonna cut my hair and I'm not gonna cut my beard. Like that's all he had to do for that entire scene, and probably got paid a lot of money for. Really, though, the magic of this movie is anytime Lily Tomlin is on screen. She is my favorite person in this film.
Well, and I think we get a precursor to her role in The West Wing as the secretary.
This was her. This is where she got the inspiration from. You know, some people, they say, oh, I got it from a real person or real whatever. That's where I created this. She got it from herself. She got it from a previous I was
character.
Inspired by myself in The Kid, so I took that over. It was so good. So the whole scene where he's like, you're the assistant, fix it, find the answer. And she's like, oh, I'll just take my magic assistant robe and find it. I paused it, rewound it, filmed it with my phone, and then played it, and then sent it back to my assistant that I talked about earlier, who sat me down and said, Miss Marvel, like, you need to watch it again. I sent it to Eleni because I was like, this is hilarious. I need you to watch this kind of a thing.
Yes.
No, but Lily Tomlin, even her things like, oh no, he threatened me with a machete. Oh, there's a lot of people out in the lobby. They really need you. It's important stuff. There's pandemonium, as she's trying to like haphazardly get him out of the meeting with his dad. She's awesome. She doesn't give two cares about anything he says. He doesn't take him too highly. And I love that. I loved what she did with this, because you're right. It did play into her role as Jed Bartlett's assistant in The West Wing.
I also love Emily Mortimer in this. I think she is just lovable and full of heart. I think
very plucky.
She's very plucky, which she brings that back. I mean, we're going to come to another Sorkin series. She was in The Newsroom for several seasons. Playing
I only watched a few episodes of the first seasons of that. I feel like I'm slacking on it.
I mean, it's not The West Wing, and it definitely gets a little too preachy for my taste in a few areas. Tries a little too hard, but especially that first season. The first season is just pure Sorkin chef kiss. So she's fantastic in this. I like her. I think she just gives it a little bit of heart and kind of a counterbalance to Bruce Willis's like dripping sarcasm for the first 2/3 of the movie.
She's definitely the most Disney of any of the characters in this film. Just like we said.
Are you saying that as a negative, or
it was borderline?
Because I'm fine with that.
It was borderline at times, kind of annoying. And this is my thing. This is the thing that made me sad about it. Is like, why does Amy, played by Emily Mortimer, why does Amy want to be with Russ? There is no redeeming quality in him, and anytime he pretends to have redeeming qualities, he then backstabs her on the other just to keep on going, or he makes fun of her for her own Disney qualities when she's doing the whole speech in front of the moonlight. Like, why does she want to be with him other than he's the main character of a Disney film?
It's a timeless question that you bring up here.
But normally there's something endearing. There's nothing endearing about Bruce Willis in this.
But this is, I always say the worst thing a girl can see in a guy is potential. But so many girls stick with guys because all they see is potential.
They can fix them. Is that what
I
you're
think they
saying?
can fix him. They think, oh, I can be the one who brings, a little bit more out in him. I don't know. The other person in this, I love Spencer Bressling, Abigail Bressling's older brother. He plays the younger version of Russ. I think he's hilarious. I think this is a perfect role for him. He's kind of played this character a lot through a couple of other films and different Disney things of that era. But this, for me, I love, and he's just got so many great lines or moments. I love the scene with the two Russes when he's just rattling, trying to figure out when he's done, like, when did I learn how to drive? 16. When do I get a car? 18. When do I get a hickey? 17. When do I find out what a hickey is? Not tonight. I love that whole exchange between the two of them. I think it's I enjoyed the two Russes and just seeing Bruce Willis with Spencer. And there was just something where I think after he has the conversation at the bar with the reporter, and he starts to like, okay, open up and learn. There's just these really fun, really endearing moments between the two characters. And I got to go back. Like, I love that scene of him at the bar with the waitress that he helped at the beginning. There's just something so, I don't know. It was just so simple and straightforward, but of a profound, just kind of self-discovery moment. I love that character. I'm trying to remember what that actress's name is. I think that is, it's Jean Smart. She's been in a couple other things. She was most known for designing women, but I don't know. I liked those predictable beats.
I liked the opening on the airline when he's flying and he has that conversation with her. And I remembered that was one of the moments I remembered from when I first saw this many moons ago, was the whole keep the y'all. That's your trademark. I remembered that moment and I just never remembered which movie that was from. So when I saw it, I was like, this is, I think he's going to tell her to keep, yep, he does. I love when he tells Amy, I forbid you to bond with this boy. I loved that moment. There was definitely some times where I was annoyed by Rusty throughout this film, but there's definitely near the end, by the time they get to where they're standing outside and they meet his older self, his even older self, and they like are together jumping up and down saying, you're a pilot, I'm not a loser. Where I'm like, you know what? You got me. By the end of this film, you wrote me in, you got me just in enough. But there was definitely some times. Now, what I did find I appreciated, there was another callback to another Disney film when Rusty, while Russ is trying to sleep, Rusty is singing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Took me back to Rocket Man.
Rocket Man.
Back to Rocket Man. Couldn't forget about Rocket Man on in that moment.
I've said this a lot, and as we've gone through these movies, these are the types of movies that aren't being made anymore, right? And yes, some of the streaming platforms are giving a little bit of space to it, but not a lot. I enjoy some of these simpler, don't take yourself too serious, just and formulaic. Like, there's something comforting about these types of movies that's just tell me a lighthearted, heartwarming story.
This definitely is one of those films with a clear message to it that actually is kind of like, oh, this is actually has like a good, like something we kind of need right now. I love when he says, kind of helps him see exactly what he's doing. He says, you help people lie about who they really are so they can pretend to be someone else. It's like, ooh, that's good. That's
a little on the nose.
Someone else asked him, but just that idea of like, he really hates what he's doing and not helping him. He's pretending to be somebody else. Do you despise you? That was another line in there that I thought was really good. yeah, it kind of so getting into where I'll eventually go, because we're not quite at rating this film yet, but it's definitely, there's a lot of Disney feel to it. It's not really a kid's movie, so it doesn't that's where I sometimes like I want a little bit more edge to the film, but it's a family film,
flick.
but it's not like, there's like my kids, I didn't even try. I forget if I even tried watching it with them. Oh yeah, my son. I tried watching it with my son, and he was out really quickly, and he was like moved on out of the room.
This is, you've got to have that older kids. This is upper elementary family. So I mean, it's outside of where we are currently, but like this is one of those movies where you can just sit down, laugh together. Like I put it in the same category as a Rocketeer, a Cool Runnings, a Mighty Ducks. Like here's some movies that you
Mighty
can
Ducks
just sit down.
Way more. Mighty Ducks has way more fun to it. Has way more like kids oriented things. So like you got the sports, and you got hockey, and you got rollerblading all different places. I want you to walk that back.
No, I'm not walking it back. I would say it's in that like we would put it on the same bookshelf of saying like, here's movies that we could go watch together as a family, and everybody's going to find something that they're going to enjoy in this. They're not the exact same type of movie or the same thing, you know what I mean by like even what you're trying to accomplish with the movie, but we can all just sit down and enjoy it together.
I hear you.
And not walk away being, we're watching this because so and so wanted to watch it.
I'm gonna grab Mighty Ducks way sooner than I would this film again. But that's me.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting.
Oh, do you have a counter? Do you have a counter to my? Are you saying that this is as good as any of the Mighty Ducks?
No, I would agree with your statement. I would probably grab Mighty Ducks before this, but it does cause me to just kind of pause and hesitate a little bit because it is this will be one that our family goes back and watches. I even remember like when Disney Plus first came out, and somehow it came up on something, and I was like, oh, and I threw out a couple of lines from it, and Sarah was like, I've never seen it. I was like, what? And we stopped and we watched it right then. Like it was one of those movies where I'm like, you've got to see this. We've got to fill this hole. And that might be because this was one of those films that my family did sit down together and watch on a regular basis and quote to each other.
A couple of quotes that I liked from this movie, and other ones we haven't talked about already. I have dry eyes. Why are you asking me about my dry eyes? Also, I don't have time to go crazy, so you're going to have to call Janet and make an appointment like everybody else. When he's like making a sandwich, like freaking out with himself up there. When Rusty responds to him and he's like doing all this, he's crying, he's sad. Well, at least I don't do this. And he's like twitching and he
starts smacking himself.
Which his crying was not great in the car.
Sure.
Like it was not as great as actorial savantness. But but one of my favorite ones is when they're in the bathroom and he's like, isn't it cool that we both have to go at the same time? He says, yes, I'll cherish this moment for a lifetime. That might have been my favorite line of the movie.
One of the lines we quote the most as the Ferguson family is just, wham. Somebody call the whaaambulance. We say that to each other all the time. Anytime somebody starts having a little bit of a pity party to themselves, somebody in our family will go, somebody call the whaaambulance.
A question I still have lingering from this film is, what is I might have missed it because there may have been a point where I kind of slightly dozed off for a half second while watching this.
You fall asleep in a movie? No.
Becoming my dad. The Vanishing Cafe. What is the story with the Vanishing Cafe, or is it always just supposed to be this giant mystery throughout?
I think it's supposed to be, one of those things that appears when it's needed.
That's it. That's the full backstory to this random cafe that pops up with human beings that live and then suddenly disappear, like Melissa McCarthy is not real.
It's like a giant box with a question mark that you never open because the mystery of what's in the box with the question mark is greater than the content.
You were just going to pull up the J.J. Abrams right now, weren't you? Just like the mystery box.
Well, because he doesn't even keep his own advice with that. But yes, I think that's one of the fun things about this. You don't know the mechanism of time travel. You know that the other Russ somehow has a part to play in all of this. And it's like, that's not what this movie's about.
It's crazy. There's kind of some false endings. They think, oh, I'm supposed to help you fight the battle. Oh, I'm supposed to help do this. Oh no, this is really dealing with the loss of my mother and the moment with the dad. Like that's definitely the heart of this film right there. Even though there were times where I was like, it's a little sappy. I was like, you know what? It's a good ending.
Like I said,
actually, the moral of the story is he's not a loser.
Yes. This is I've come back. It's just a heartwarming flick.
If you're into
right?
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, you aren't such a Grinch. Come on. You love heartwarming. You said you just cried at, Lightyear or Minions? You cried at Minions?
I had dry eyes, Eddie. Don't ask me about my dry eyes.
I think that I enjoy movies like this. Sue me.
I will sue you. Challenge accepted. Okay. We didn't mention the fact that there's a lot of Apple product placement in this. We got the
old Apple stuff.
Got Power Books on the plane, I believe, is when he's using that. And then Lily Tomlin's got an old iMac, one of those first ones that came out. That you know what? This might have actually came out. Those iMacs, were they released at that time when this film came out? Because that feels really
pretty
early.
Close. This is pretty close right with it. I'm just shocked you're calling out the Apple stuff, seeing that you're no longer a big Apple fan.
You know me. I've turned heel and just completely hate all Microsoft stuff. No, I'm just not. I don't use every single, I don't use Apple toilet paper, or I don't use Apple bed sheets and stuff like that. So
you really should. They're both incredibly soft.
Well, hold up. Let me get my Apple mug from our trip to Mecca 7 years ago now.
This is so random aside. I left mine back in Indiana because I, only had so much room. And I'm kind of glad because I have broken 3 mugs because everything in our house is concrete and tile. If you drop something, it's gone. And I lost probably the one that I was the most sad over is when the 3 of us went to Disneyland. I bought this really cool mug with a map of the original Disneyland on the outside of it.
Ooh.
That fell and just shattered.
Oh.
And I didn't cry, but there was a moment where I'm like, yes. So I kept my Apple. I'm glad I kept my Apple mug in storage because it would have been broken by now.
Were you happy?
Yes. Lots of original Apple products.
Lots of original Apple products. Were you excited for them to explain in the credits? They answered the question of why the moon looks orange sometimes.
Yes, I thought that. See, again, it's just heartwarming.
You,
like
Eddie.
These little touches like that. Yeah.
So we ready to rate this thing? We ready to give our ratings? I don't want to go first.
I'm going to let you go first.
No. I want you to go first. I want you to give us your rating because I'm still pondering in my head how much I want to disappoint you.
So I had to go back because I wanted, now our movie list on honeywemade.com. You can see what we've rated all the previous movies. I feel like I'm going to stick with my analogy of it belongs on this shelf. I'm not saying that they're like as good or, compare. I'm just saying I feel that they're in very similar veins. And so I am going to give this a 4.
4. Wow.
I'm going to give this a 4. That's what I gave Rocketeer. That's what I gave Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, Mighty Ducks, Cool Runnings, all of those.
The 4-star shelf.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those films where like I don't even have to know what I'm grabbing. I can just kind of reach one of those films off the shelf, plop it in, and I'm gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be like a warm blanket. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie. I'm not giving it a 5. I'm not, going up there. I'm just saying this is a really solid movie.
It's hard for me with this film because even though like the message of this film, there's some one-liners in this film, there's memorable moments in this film, the rewatchability of it for me to just want to turn this specific journey on just isn't there. Like, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the thing I called out, which is like, why does Amy want to be with him again? Like, what did he show that was so redeeming? I'm trying to figure out like, what was I so invested in other than this kid getting back home? I think I was lacking that piece of it. So the fact that, and there wasn't any like physical gags, it's just like one-liner quotes. I think I'm going to give it a 2.
A 2?
A 2. I'm looking at my list. Would I rather watch Pocahontas, which I gave 2.5 to, over this? Yeah, I would rather watch. It's about Tom and Huck level for me.
Really? It's about the Nightmare Before Christmas level for you?
Yeah. Actually, Nightmare Before Christmas had a lot of problems with it. 101 Dalmatians, Rocket.
We should have a moment where we go back and which ratings would we change if we wanted to?
That's a whole episode of our Mount Rushmore of bad choices, both undersold and oversold. Like, because I'm like, Air Bud, why did I give that a 3? Some of these I would love to give 0s, dude, by the way. Now knowing after fact, like before Mr. Magoo, like Operation Domo Drop, I wish I could have given that a 0. That would have been
it's not that bad.
So much better.
Not that bad. So you are giving it a measly 2, and I am giving it a well-deserved 4.
A well-deserved, and mine is a measly. I gotcha. I see what you mean.
And with that, your life has been forever changed by another episode of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review, or, you know what? Share it with your best friend.
You can check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see our full movie list that we've referenced a couple times as we continue to watch all the Disney movies from 1988 to 2005, otherwise known as our childhood, including next week's episode when we will review Remember the Titans.
Thank you for listening, and remember, there's safety in sandwiches.